Alright everyone, welcome back to this channel. I hope you are all doing good. Today we are reacting to this video. We have black women who are saying that they prefer working for white men only. Yes, you know, most employees don't choose managers based on race or gender in a vacuum. Usually, they are responding to experiences, so they have had over time. If someone says they prefer one type of manager, what they are often really saying is that they have observed certain behaviors, management styles, or workplace cultures that they associate with those managers. So let's just get into these clips. And now, does that mean every white male boss is the same? Of course not. Let's get into the clips. I'll be back.
You offer me a job and I find out my manager, my direct supervisor is going to be a minority, babe, keep that DEI hire and keep that job offer too. I prefer to work under white men, okay? White, middle-aged, men with a family, AARP eligible, the ones that got the AAA, the ones that eat off the IHOP 55 plus menu, you know what I mean? The Medicare eligible ones, give me that. Give me that. Because as far as I'm concerned, the minorities, they like to make you pay back the dues that they had to pay in 1987 when they first got their job as the model minority. And they want to make sure that you have to do it too. Meanwhile, white man, he sees me, he goes, yep, let me give you this special project. What do you need? What's going to advance your career? How can I help you? None of the passive aggressiveness, none of the micromanaging, none of that extra shit, right? Give me Jim, Bob, Bill, give me that. Don't give me the minority, because as far as I'm concerned, anybody that looks like me or identifies as somebody who would be a DEI hire, as far as I'm concerned, I'm not with it. I'm not with it. Y'all got a chip on y'all shoulder that I personally do not have the brain power to deal with. So as far as I'm concerned, hand me to the nearest white man.
As you continue watching, does this mean every manager from other groups behave differently? Also no. Let's get into this other perception, because perception is reality when it comes to workplace experiences. If enough people have similar experiences, they start forming preferences, whether those preferences are fair or not. Let's get into this other clip. I'll be back.
Toni Childs hopped on the internet and says she prefers to work for white men. Don't give her the DEI hire. She wants a white man telling her what to do. She prefers to make sure that a white man is the one who is leading over her. And honey, I have to tell you something. The reason that you prefer that is not the way you think it is. Quite honestly, it's the quite opposite. You're not a threat to that white man's position. That's why you are more likely to feel successful, because he's going to work more with you because he sees you more as his assistant in servitude, if you will. And this is not for everyone. I'm not saying this is like that for everywhere, but quite honestly, go ahead, give me the minority company. Let me work with minorities. I quite honestly prefer diversity. I don't know what Toni was saying, but I rather work with diversity because people know struggle. You have to understand that what you work around and what you put your career around, that is a direct reflection on what you're willing to put up with, honey. And that to me wasn't she wasn't eating what she thought.
You know, one possibility is that some women feel white male supervisors evaluate them primarily on performance and results. And that's a perception that has been discussed in workplace conversations for years. And some employees do believe certain managers are more direct, less involved in office politics, and more focused on measurable outcomes. And again, that's a perception, not an objective truth. Yes, at the same time, others would strongly disagree and point to experiences where white male leadership created barriers, discrimination, or lack of advanced opportunities. And that's why these conversations get complicated. Two people can work in the same company and walk away with completely different experiences. Let's get into this other angle, because, and other angles worth discussing is workplace conflict. Let's get into this remaining clip. I'll be back.
This video triggered me because I want so badly for her to be wrong. My very own lived experience is that the two people who were responsible for my career literally launching off the platform were named Corey and Phil. And yes, they were. If you're asking me what they were, go back and watch her video. But yep, they were. And when I tell you special projects, temporary assignments, mentoring, everything that I needed to move forward in my career, the leaps and bounds that I took were when I was underneath a Corey and a Phil. And that,
sometimes employees report having more friction with managers they perceive as competing for the same opportunities or operating within similar organizational pressures. And in some cases, people feel that managers from certain backgrounds place greater expectations on them because they believe they should already understand specific cultural dynamics. And whether that's true or not, those feelings can shape workplace preferences. And what's interesting is how quickly people generalize from individual experiences. Someone might have 3 excellent bosses who happen to be white men and conclude that's the type of manager I work best under. And another person might have 3 terrible experiences and reach the exact opposite conclusion. Human beings naturally build patterns from limited experiences, and the danger comes when those patterns become rigid assumptions. Because if we are honest, great managers come from every demographic group, and bad managers do too. Leadership is not determined by race. It's not determined by gender. It is determined by competence, by emotional intelligence, by communication skills, by fairness and accountability. And those qualities can be found anywhere. And I also think that this topic reveals a bigger issue that often gets ignored. Many employees don't actually leave jobs because of the work itself. They leave because of management. You've probably heard the saying that people don't quit companies. They quit bosses. And whether the boss is male, female, black, white, Asian, Latino, or anything else, employees generally want the same things. They want respect. They want consistency. They want opportunities to grow. They want fair treatment. And they want their contributions recognized. And when those needs aren't met, people begin associating negative experiences with whoever happens to be in charge. And another thing worth mentioning is that social media tends to amplify the most extreme versions of every discussion. A title like this immediately grabs attention because it sounds controversial, but when you actually listen to people's explanations, the conversation is often more nuanced than the headline suggests. So sometimes they are talking about office politics. Sometimes they are talking about communication skills. Sometimes they are talking about favoritism. Sometimes they are talking about career advancement. And sometimes they are simply sharing personal experiences rather than making universal claims. And the challenge is that audiences often hear a personal preference and interpret it as a statement about an entire group of people. That's where the discussion can quickly become divisive. A more productive question might be this: that what specific management behaviors are creating positive experiences? And if employees say they feel respected, when they say they feel heard and fairly evaluated, those are qualities every manager can learn from. And instead of focusing solely on who the manager is, it may be more useful to focus on what the manager does. Because ultimately, most workers aren't looking for a particular race or gender in leadership. They are looking for effective leadership. And now, some viewers will agree with the women in this video. Others will strongly disagree, and that's expected. Workplace experiences vary dramatically, depending on individual personalities. And what's important is being able to discuss those experiences without immediately dismissing them or turning them into stereotypes. And at the end of the day, personal experiences matter, but they don't necessarily define entire groups of people. The best boss you've ever had and the worst boss you've ever had would share the same race, the same gender, or completely different backgrounds. Leadership quality is bigger than demographics. So that's my take on this topic. What do you think? Are workplace preferences usually based on management style, personal experience, company culture, or something else entirely? Drop your thoughts in the comments and keep it respectful, keep it constructive, and let's have a real conversation about it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video. Of course, all credit belongs to the original creators of the video, and this video is meant for educational purposes and commentary purposes as well. Thank you. See you in the next one.